Um, so we are very pleased and we are very honored to have Her Grace Sundari Radhika Mataji today among us. So just to introduce you to Mataji, Her Grace Sundari Radhika Mataji is a disciple of His Holiness Gopal Krishna Goswami Maharaj, and she is wife of Srinivasacharya Das. She got in touch with Krishna consciousness in 2002 at Arizona State University while pursuing her master's degree, which fructified into initiation in 2006. She has served ISKCON in many different roles from then as a Sankirtan leader, Pujarian, Bhakti Vrish leader, fundraising coordinator, and she has finished on her Bhakti Shastri and Bhakti Vaibhav under the auspicious guidance of His Holiness Hanuman Prekshak Maharaj. She homeschooled her daughter Sugopi Radha Devidasi, who is now pursuing her master's at Yale University in Asian religions. She also runs an online school for Krishna conscious kids now. And it is our very big and humble good luck that now today we can hear from Mataji about the glories of Krishna. So over to you, Sundari Radhika Mataji. Welcome to Partsarthi Foundation.
Thank you so much for this opportunity to share whatever I have realized for my own purification. Thank you, Mataji, for the introduction. We'll start with Jai Radha Madhava. Usually, does somebody repeat or we'll just sing and then start the verse?
Everybody will stay muted. So
Okay.
You go ahead and sing, yeah.
Okay, thank you, Prabhu. Jai Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradhari Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradhari Yashodanandana Braja Janaranjana Yashodanandana Braja Janaranjana Yamunatira Vanachare Yamunatira Vanachare Jaya Radha Madhava Radha Madhava Radhe Jai Radha Madhava Radha Madhava Radhe Jai Gauranita Gauranitai Gauranitai Jaya Gauranitai Jai Gauranitai 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 Jaya Gauranitai Jaya Jaya Prabhupada 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 Jaya Jaya Prabhupada Jaya Jaya Prabhupada 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 Jaya Jaya Prabhupada Jai Shri Gaur Nitai ki Jai Shri Prabhupada ki Jai Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. We are reading from chapter 2 of Bhagavad Gita, starting text 39 today. I would like to ask for volunteers to read translations. We'll just read one verse and then discuss. After that, we'll move on to the next verse. So if you can pick up the hands, I think you should be able to unmute. The host will unmute them and they can read the translation after I read the verse. Okay. Radhe Govinda. I don't know who that is, if that's the name.
Yes, Mataji.
Oh, very
Hare
nice.
Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Hey, I'll read the verse and you please read the translation.
Okay, Mataji.
Thank you. ईशा ते विहिता सांख्ये बुद्धिर्योगे त्विमां शृणु बुद्ध्या युक्तो यया पार्था कर्मबन्धं प्रहास्यसि.
Hare Krishna, Dandavat Pranams. Thus far, I have described this knowledge to you through analytical study. Now listen as I explain it in the terms of working without fruitive results. O son of Pritha, when you act in such knowledge, you can free yourself from the bondage of works. Hare Krishna. Thank you, Mataji.
Thank you. So, in text 239, before that, Krishna explained Arjuna about the Sankhya philosophy. So the history behind why Arjuna had to listen to this Sankhya philosophy is, before the battle began, Arjuna wanted to see everybody who assembled on the battlefield. And he asks Krishna, can you take my chariot so that I can see who's on the other side? So Krishna, instead of taking the chariot to see Duryodhana and his brothers, he takes the chariot just in front of Krishna's teacher, Dronacharya, and grandfather Bhishma, and other relatives whom he may like. So Arjuna, by seeing all those people, he becomes very morose. Now he has to kill all these dear ones who are assembled on the opposite side. Then he gives various reasons for not fighting. He becomes so weak that even Gandiva slips from his hands. He's a great hero when he takes pride in his bow. He doesn't want anyone to say, put your bow down. He makes this promise that whoever tells me to put my Gandiva bow down, I am going to kill them. So that's how much he takes pride in holding that Gandiva, and the Gandiva is slipping from his hands. In this purport, Srila Prabhupada explains how his mood of fighting and also not fighting. Initially, the reason for which he wanted to fight is for sense gratification, is for the happiness that he wants for his senses. And now he's saying, I cannot fight. That is also for his sense gratification. So he wanted to initially derive happiness by conquering his enemies. That's a happiness that he needs for his senses, for his mind, for his intelligence. And then now he doesn't want to fight. The reason is, if I fight and kill all these people, how am I going to enjoy? In this world, there is enjoyment when you have company. If you have nobody and you have the whole world, there is no enjoyment. So he's saying, if everybody dies, how am I going to fight? How am I going to enjoy? How am I going to fight and kill all these people and enjoy? So in both cases, he's only thinking about satisfying his senses. And he's even ready to sacrifice his wisdom. He's ready to sacrifice his beauty, sense of beauty. So Srila Prabhupada explains that this idea of sense gratification that we have is very deep-rooted. The moment we came into this material world, this idea of sense gratification started. We came here to satisfy our senses. This whole material energy will put us in that illusion. We think we are going to enjoy in this world. We think we are going to make our senses happy. Even to the point of merging and becoming one with the Lord. The mood is sense gratification. That's why even that is Maya. Trying to merge into the impersonal Brahman is the last snare of Maya, Prabhupada says. So this illusion, we can get over this illusion only after many, many births of engaging in such activities. When we surrender to Krishna, that's when we can get over this illusion. Sometimes we also think in our own lives, right? When a lot of difficulties come, when the relationships are not as we expect, then we think like, why am I even here? This material world is just so miserable. the relationships are so superficial and there is nothing like happiness. The body fails after some time and you really can't do what you want to do. That's when we get this realization that, this is useless. I'm trying to do so many things here to be happy, but everything is a failure in the material world. It doesn't result in happiness. Why am I even trying? Let me just surrender to Krishna. That is the relationship that matters the most. And that's what I want. We get those moments, but then we again fall. We again become attracted. It's not so bad. Let me try to make it work. It will work. It's okay. It's not, I don't have to renounce so much. I can just be happy for a little bit in the material world. So we go back and forth. We never come to this stage of nishtha where we are completely surrendered to Krishna and we are fixed on the platform that satisfying the senses and trying to pursue happiness in this material world. That's not the way to go. We are not fixed. We go back and forth. But eventually we'll get fixed. After many, many lifetimes, we get fixed. And in the beginning, after he got into this confusion in the first chapter, in the beginning of second chapter, Arjuna surrenders to Krishna. Does anyone know which verse will illustrate this point? Arjuna surrenders to Krishna. I heard yesterday that a lot of people know verses. This group of devotees.
Arpanyadu sopahat sobhava utsamatam dharma.
2.7.
Yes, thank you, Prabhu. Thank you, Mataji. So he says, Shikyasyaham shadimam tvam prapannam. I am your disciple. So far he was friend, but then he could not get the guidance as a friend. For friends, we don't give guidance. We give suggestions. And they may follow or they may not follow. It's up to them. There is not so much gravity in friendship. We give some suggestions and also we don't take responsibility for the upliftment of a friend. But the relationship between master, spiritual master and disciple is different. Spiritual master takes responsibility for the upliftment of the disciple. He chastises, he gives instructions, he guides. So that is the relationship Arjuna wanted from Krishna. So Krishna accepts Arjuna as a disciple. And then Krishna starts giving knowledge. He starts with Sankhya. He gives the science of the soul. Sankhya is like science. The soul cannot be cut to pieces, cannot be killed. When we study science, if we are studying a particular chemical, we learn the properties of the chemical, right? Krishna goes about the same way. He gives how soul cannot be killed, cut to pieces, cannot be drowned or withered by the wind, like that. And he also says that every individual will remain an individual eternally. There is no merging. Everybody has their existence eternally. And he says the body is like a dress. We put on different bodies, but then we leave them and go to the next body. Talks about the dimensions of soul and everything. So after this verse that we are reading comes. And he tells, now I will explain you how you can act in knowledge so that you won't be bound in this material world. That is called Buddhi Yoga. We'll go to text 40 now. Let me move to 40. So Mataji, are you ready for the translation?
Yes, Mataji.
नेहाभिक्रमनाशोऽस्ति प्रत्यवायो न विद्यते स्वल्पमप्यस्य धर्मस्य त्रायते महतो भयात्.
Translation and preparation. In this endeavor, there is no loss or diminution. In this endeavor, there is no loss or diminution, and a little advancement on this path can protect one from the most dangerous type of fear.
So this is very famous, the verse. In fact, all the 6 verses that we are reading today are very famous and very important for cultivating the attitude that we need to have in Krishna consciousness. So in this verse, Krishna is building up his product, is introducing Buddhi Yoga to us. And he's saying that whatever advancement we make on this path, it is never lost. It is never a failure. People have this question sometimes. I may be able to come only for a few sessions. If I cannot come later, will it be an offense? Because in some rituals, if you start, if you cannot finish, it will become an offense. So they ask that question. And this is the answer Krishna gives. He's saying that even if we cannot finish, we will retain whatever advancement we made. You can see in people's lives, some people, when they come to Krishna consciousness, they make very quick progress. Some people may take a very long time. The reason is this: depending on how much previous service balance they have from last life, they may make advancement accordingly. This is the beauty of this. And even if we change the body, we don't lose the advancement that we have made. It has permanent effect. And we don't have to be afraid. We don't have to be fearful about gliding down into animal species. Even if we do a little bit of progress on this path, we will get a human body. That's the assurance Krishna gives. Neha Bikramanaሾsti pratyavaya na vidyate swalpamapyasya dharmasya trayate mahato bhayat. The greatest fear is death. Some people say it's death. Some people also say it's gliding down to animal species. When we go to animal species, we don't have the discrimination to pursue spiritual life. We are just, it's like a prison sentence. We go there and we have to finish the karma that is allotted to us in that body, and then we have to move on to the next life allocated to us. There is no choice to make in animal life. We just have to live that life. So that is very dangerous. We don't have that facility to pursue spiritual advancement. That will never happen for a person who has already started on this path. Sometimes in special cases, it may happen, like King Bharata. Even in that case, he didn't lose his remembrance of his past spiritual life. And he made a choice. He was given enough discrimination to make a choice, even if he went to the animal species. He could go to the sage's ashram and stay there for the rest of his dear life. So that is the beauty. Whereas in the material life, if we are pursuing some material studies or career or anything else, if we have to leave the body, then we won't carry it to the next life. We have to start all over again. And even if we are pursuing a degree and we cannot finish it, we cannot say after a few years that I'll continue. There is a time limit. After that, you cannot continue. You lost what you have already done. You have to start all over again. And in this purport, Prabhupada also mentions this one verse, which is very nice, from Srimad Bhagavatam. Tyaktva swadharmam charanambujam harer bhajanna pakota patet tato yadi yatra kvava bhadram abhudamushya kim ko varta apto bhajatam swadharmataha. If someone gives up his occupational duties and works in Krishna consciousness and then falls down on account of not completing his work, what loss is there on his part? And what can one gain if one performs his material activities perfectly? Or as the Christians say, what profiteth a man if he gain the whole world, yet suffer the loss of his eternal soul? So this is what Srimad Bhagavatam says. Sometimes we may have this feeling, if we are in the beginning stages, neophyte stages, our faith is not so strong. And if we see some other friends who are pursuing their careers, people don't waste any time. They study. Even in the spare time, they study, they earn other degrees, they work hard to pursue job changes and all these things. And we may feel like in the beginning, am I wasting time? 2 hours a day chanting, and I'm going to the temple, Sunday feast, it takes so much time. Am I wasting time? Am I not being successful in my life? This is the answer for that. It says that even if we may not do perfectly the occupational duties, on account of Krishna consciousness, what loss is there? Even if we cannot do Krishna consciousness perfectly, and if we may fall down, we don't have to think like we are neither here nor there. Because whatever Krishna consciousness we have done, that will take us further. We are eternally a gainer. We are not a loser. Whereas others who may perform material activities perfectly, imagine the dissatisfaction one feels when one dies. They have spent every moment of their life in making this life better. But then all of a sudden, there is no notice. Sometimes death comes all of a sudden. They have to leave everything they spent time for so many years, 50, 60, 70, 80 years. In a moment, they have to leave and go. It's a complete loss. Whereas Krishna consciousness, even little bit that we do is never lost. That is the purpose of this text. Krishna is telling that don't worry about losing anything. Don't worry about perfecting it either. You may not perfect, but still you're okay. You can advance from wherever you left off. And Prabhupada also mentions Ajamila's story. Ajamila was a very good Brahmana in the beginning, and later on he fell down. Unfortunately, he spent most of his life in a fallen condition. At the end, he can remember Narayana. He could remember Narayana. He named his son because of his previous culture by the name Narayana. And at the end, he called out for his son. But when he called out Narayana, he did remember the real Narayana. So he was given a second chance after that. He was given a chance to rectify himself and purify himself, and he went back home, back to Godhead. That is the effect of Krishna consciousness. Even if someone falls down, Krishna will take care of them. Krishna will bring them back either in this life or next life. Others may see or may not see, but it will happen. That is Krishna's promise. There is no loss in this endeavor. Okay, so text 41 now. Vyavasayatmika buddhir ekeha kurunandana bahushakha hyanantasya buddhayo vyavasayinam. Mataji, you ready for translation?
Can I read, Mataji?
Yes. Yes.
Those who are on this path are resolute in purpose, and their aim is one. O beloved child of the Gurus, the intelligence of those who are irresolute is many branched. Hare Krishna.
Thank you. So now Krishna is getting into the process of Buddhi Yoga. He's giving some, requirements or some goals. So we need to have one-pointed focus, strong faith that Krishna consciousness is the means to be elevated to the highest perfection of life. This is Vyavasayatmika intelligence. So this is single pointed focus. So this is resolute determination. So how can we get this resolute determination? It can only be accomplished by knowledge. When we gain knowledge of the soul, not just theoretically, but practically. What does it mean to have practical knowledge that we are the spirit soul? When we make any decision, when we try to think, then we have to think. Am I thinking on the bodily platform? Am I acting in such a way that I am this body, or am I acting in such a way that I am the spirit soul? So when we practically apply this knowledge, when we practically live using this knowledge, then there is no chance of sense gratification. There is no chance of fruitive activities. We don't think about fruit in the material world. Then the mind will be firmly fixed. Then there will be resolute determination. Then there will be single pointed focus. So this kind of person who has this single pointed focus is very difficult to find. Vasudeva Sarvamiti Samahatma Sudurlabha. So this kind of Krishna consciousness, to see this kind of Krishna consciousness in a person is very rare. This person, he knows by watering the root, all the leaves, branches, everything will be watered. By taking up Krishna consciousness, by acting in Krishna consciousness, then we can render highest service to everybody. Everyone else will be happy. We will get the intelligence with which we can make everyone else happy with Krishna as the center. Making everyone else happy in the material world means making their senses happy. But in Krishna consciousness, there is a different meaning for making everyone happy. If we connect them to Krishna, if they render some service and experience some bliss, that is making them happy. It's not that we give something for the sense gratification and they are happy and that implies we are happy. When Krishna is satisfied, then we know how to connect everyone to Krishna. We know how to engage them according to their position, according to their circumstance, according to their interests and abilities. Then they'll be happy. That happiness that we give to people who are related to us by society, by family, or by country in any other way is everlasting. It is completely satisfactory. So this is the means. And how can we engage in service to Krishna? Prabhupada says the best way is to practice under the guidance of an able spiritual master. So he gave all these points to get to this Vyavasayatmika intelligence. We have to act in knowledge and we have to take guidance from an able spiritual master. If we don't have guidance, then we think we are all good. And there are also many bewildering situations in the material world. It's not straight. So many problems happen and so many different circumstances come up and we don't know what to do. At that time, we need the guidance of an able spiritual master. Because we are conditioned, because we act in the modes of material nature, we don't know how to act to get out of the modes of material nature. That's what the spiritual master helps us with. He'll train us how to think. And then because of that, we understand how to think. And eventually we start to think in the same way. That is the guidance a spiritual master gives. And that's what keeps us in this single pointed focus. Okay, we'll move on to 42 and 43 next. If anyone else would like to read the translation, they are welcome to. Yamimam pushpitam vacham pravadantya vipashchitaha vedavadarata partha nanyadasti vadinaha Kamatmana Swargapara Janma Karma Phalapradam Kriya Vishesha Bahulam Yogaishwarya Gatim Prati. Ritu Mataji, I think you raised first. So, yeah.
Men of small knowledge are very much attached to the flowery words of the Vedas, which recommend various fruitative activities for elevation to heavenly planets, resultant good birth, power, and so forth. Being desirous of sense gratification and a pleasant life, they say that there is nothing more than this. Hare Krishna.
Thank you. So this is the same as the modern society. In the previous generations, hundreds of years ago, people had a different means of satisfying their sense gratificatory proposals. They didn't just think about this life, they did think about next life also. And they did all these different sacrifices so that they can go to heavenly planets, they can enjoy with all the intoxicants and women that are available in the heavenly planets. They have done some sacrifice. They used to do some sacrifices for this life also, but their means was through Vedas. Vedas have all these different things one can do to get different results, different attractions. It's like getting attached to the flowers of poisonous trees. Whether it's enjoyment or whether it's suffering, it's the same in the material world. It's just entangling. It's like one thing after the other. It keeps us going and going and going. When we are attached to these fruits, then we are in the modes of material nature. We are not thinking about getting out of this, but we want to make it nice so that we can stay here in a happy way. So this heavenly opulence is also one of the sense enjoyments. Just like, in the modern day, the life is like, I can see the life of all the NRIs. We come from India in pursuit of wealth and success in career and good degrees. And we come here and we accomplish all those things. And then we start our jobs and we want to grow and grow and grow. So accumulate a lot of wealth, invest here, invest there. So when we grow old, we'll have millions of dollars, and constantly the thinking is about wealth. And then when the kids are born, pressurize them to do this, that, everything. And, they have to become some really great people in the society in terms of wealth, in terms of which school they go to and what jobs they do. So this is the average thinking of modern day, NRIs who come from India. And I'm sure even in India, that's the same thinking, constantly thinking about wealth. Wealth is for sense gratification. So the means we are employing now is not as purifying as all these rituals that people used to do. It's very binding and it's very difficult for people to get out of it. At least when people followed all these Vedic rituals, they could see there are some mantras in the sacrifice which may give some idea that they need to get out of this process of sense gratification. Everything is for the pleasure of the Lord. Everything has to be offered to the Lord. There are some mantras which may give some hint of this knowledge, but in the modern day pursuits, you'll never come across anything like that. You'll become more and more atheistic and more apart from God realization by following all these methods of wealth accumulation. But the problem with either of those is we cannot have resolute determination for Krishna consciousness. These karma kandis, they cannot have resolute determination for Krishna consciousness. The mind is always thinking about ways to get sense gratification. When the mind is so engaged, it's going from one place to the other place to the other place. It's not fixed on Krishna. because various senses are there and they are demanding various things. Mind is busy trying to satisfy all these senses. In such a person's mind, that resolute determination will never come. These two things are mutually exclusive. It's not like we can have our feet in both the boats. We can never do that. Only when we come to this understanding that I am living here for the sake of living, whatever comes on its own accord, we'll accept. We don't over endeavor for things of this material world. My goal is to get out of this material world. My goal is to be in the shelter of Krishna. My goal is to serve Krishna. That's when the one-pointed focus comes. As long as we have other material goals, one-pointed focus will never come. Let's see, I think next verse is also continuation of the same concept. Amit Prabhu, you can read the translation for this.
Hare Krishna Mataji.
Yeah.
In the minds
Bhogaishvarya prasaktanam tayapahrita chetasam vyavasayatmika buddhi samadhau na vidhiyate.
In the minds of those who are too attached to sense enjoyment and material opulence and who are bewildered by such things, the resolute determination for devotional service to the Supreme Lord does not take place. Hare Krishna.
So in this purport, Prabhupada is saying samadhi, resolute determination is also like samadhi. We are constantly thinking of one thing. How can I please Krishna? There might be various ways to please Krishna, depending on our skills, depending on the inclination. We may engage ourselves in various different ways for the pleasure of Krishna. That is the one-pointed focus. That is samadhi. It's not just sitting down and meditating and never getting up, but using everything we have for Krishna's service. Mind, engaging the mind constantly in thinking about what pleases Krishna. So this thought will not come when we are thinking about how I can please my senses, how I can accumulate material opulence. This is very contaminating. This idea of accumulating a lot of money is very contaminating. It will even take us to do all these stocks and everything. Stocks are really like, they take your mind away. You cannot focus on anything. Constantly you're looking at the internet. What's the stock price today? What's the stock price in the afternoon, evening? All the time the meditation is stocks, not Krishna. It's not how to please Krishna. So we will be bewildered by such things. Because of this, the mind will not be able to focus. It's completely occupied with other things. It cannot be fixed on Krishna. But because mind is chanchala, Krishna consciousness also has various ways to fix. I see so many devotees here. I learn so much by looking at all the devotees here in Houston. They engage themselves in various different services. All of them do like deity worship, cooking for Neela Madhava, and preaching. There are various ways to engage the mind because it wants variety. There is variety in Krishna consciousness also. Just we are also working. And a materialist is also working. We are also busy. A materialist is also busy. The only difference between a materialist and us, whether the materialist is modern materialist or karmakandi, the difference is the purpose. The difference is the consciousness. We are working to please Krishna. We are not working to please ourselves. But even if we are doing some service, if our attitude is, how can I please myself? What can I gain from it? Maybe I'll get some position by doing this. Maybe this is more conducive for my advancement in getting some, honor, prestige, and distinction. I'll choose that over this. If that thinking pervades our consciousness, we are still not on this platform of resolute determination. So even if seemingly we are doing service, if the attitude inside is that we are not rendering complete Krishna consciousness, it still is material. It still has reactions. If we perform service in that mode, we'll still get reactions. Only if we perform service for the pleasure of Krishna, we won't have reactions. Initially, we may not even know that we have those intentions. But as we perform service, Krishna will make it clear to us. Sometimes when we go through some problems, it becomes clear to us that why was I doing that service? First of all, was I trying to please myself or was I trying to please Krishna? He makes us realize. And when we realize it and move forward, we make advancement. But if we don't realize and if we try to hide and if we try to just continue doing what we are doing, we make no progress. And we get reactions. We continue to get reactions and will be entangled. So as we do this service in Krishna's for Krishna's pleasure, we make progress. And again, progress is not external. You may not see a lot of results sometimes. We may be engaged in some kind of service for many, many years, and you may not see the results that you're expecting. But the progress will happen inside. Even if you don't see results, your advancement will be happening inside. And when Krishna wants to use us for the big things, he will use us. So the results are not the measure of a person's consciousness. How he is focused in service in various situations, how he is determined to please Krishna, that is the measure of a person's consciousness, of a person's devotional service. So the last verse for today, we'll go through. Volunteers to read the translation? Madhavi Mataji, you want to read? Oh, a lot of. I don't remember who picked up the hand first. Ila and Shivani. Ila Mataji, you can read. Traigunya Vishaya Veda Nistraigunyo Bhavarjuna Nirdvandvo Nitya Sattvasto Niryoga Kshema Atmavan. Can
Hare
read
Krishna
the
Mataji.
Yeah.
Hare Krishna Mataji. The Vedas deal mainly with the subject of the three modes of material nature, O Arjuna. Become transcendental to these three modes. Be free from all dualities and from all anxieties for gain and safety, and be established in the self.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So this verse talks about Vedas. Vedas are also dealing with these three modes of material nature. Whatever Vedas have given is within the jurisdiction of the modes. It's not transcendental. Prabhupada says, when we look at Upanishads, there are many Vedic literatures that Krishna has given us. Vedas themselves, they talk about karma kanda, like we discussed in the previous verses, what to do to gain what. It's about what we gain for our own body and mind and future lives. So that's why it's in the modes of material nature. But Upanishads, they start to discuss a little bit about transcendental life. Upanishads are also part of Vedas, but they give some kind of spiritual realization. Bhagavad Gita is like fifth Veda. It's from Mahabharata. So Upanishads is where the inquiry begins. They talk about a little bit about Brahman and how we are not the body and time to inquire. All those things will come. So if we want to be in the modes of material nature, we can be. But there are actions and reactions in the modes of material nature. So people may say, why do I need to come to the mode of goodness? I can be passionate. I can be passionate for Krishna. What do you say? Can people be in the mode of passion and be transcendental? No. In order to become transcendental, there is a step before that. One has to come out of modes of passion and ignorance, come to the mode of goodness. And then from mode of goodness, one has to even rise above that and become transcendental. So as long as we are in the mode of passion, it's very difficult to not have reactions for what we do. Only in the mode of goodness, one can see a little bit of transcendence and then cultivate the transcendence more and more in the mode of goodness. So one has to learn to eat in the mode of goodness, behave in the mode of goodness, and think about mode of goodness activities. So it's important to know that we cannot be in passion and ignorance. We have to come out of it to the mode of goodness. And then eventually we come out of the mode of goodness and become transcendental. So all these sense gratificatory activities will not help us to come to the mode of goodness. They'll keep us in passion and ignorance. That's why we need to avoid that. And another very important point Prabhupada makes is we have to learn to tolerate. This verse, even in the translation, it mentions that we have to learn to tolerate the dualities like happiness and distress, cold and warmth, and tolerate all the gain and loss, all the anxieties we have for gain and loss. How can we do that? Do we have to become feelingless? Should we not show happiness when happy things happen? Should we not show distress when bad things happen? If something bad happens to people, should we just say, don't worry, you are just a spirit soul, and not help them in their miseries? That's not what Krishna says. We just should not identify that that's us. It's happening to us. We may help others to get out of the dualities, but eventually we have to educate them to become knowledgeable that these are all temporary. The happiness comes and goes, distress comes and goes. So just like, we have two accounts. We have the account of piety, we have the account of our sinful activities. So for the account of piety, we get the happiness. Account of piety will exhaust. After we enjoy a lot of happiness, we are done with our money. We are done with our piety. Same thing with distress. We don't have unlimited sinful activities to suffer for. Sinful activities will be exhausted after some time. So the distress will also go away. It's just an action and reaction business, this whole modes of material nature. As long as we are not transcendental, we have to enjoy or suffer the results of our previous activities. And because we are in this material world, there are some unavoidable things like sometimes it's cold, sometimes it's very hot, and we have to tolerate. There is duality in the material world. And sometimes there is gain and sometimes there is loss. That is also nature of the material world and previous karma. So we just have to learn to go through these things, understanding that this is not us. The happiness we experience is not us. The things that are happening, which will give some happiness to the senses, is not us. We are different from all this. This is just a temporary play, temporary show that's going on here. And the show will end. And we are a different person from show. We are not the actor or actress in the show forever. We have another existence, which is forever. So if we understand that, and if we keep reading, we need to equip the intelligence with this knowledge. And with the knowledge, the detachment comes. Asanga shastrena dridena chitva. So with this weapon of detachment, we can cut the roots of the material existence. So detachment comes from knowledge. With detachment, we can cut the roots of material existence, and we can come out of these three modes of material nature. And we can accomplish this transcendental position, where we are fully dependent on Krishna. We are fully dependent on the goodwill of Krishna. Whatever Krishna gives, we accept. We don't think, why is this happening to me? I don't deserve this. Why is this happening to me? I'm a good person. We don't think like that anymore. We just go through it without attaching ourselves to it. And then when it's time to leave everything, we are ready to leave everything. No strings attached, no anchors in the material world, no resentment to leave, no attachments. Just like, when the coconut, if we dry the coconut without removing the shell, inside the shell, the coconut is already detached. So even if we are in the material body, if we cultivate Krishna consciousness in a pure manner, we are already detached from this material body and subtle body. So when a time comes when the coconut is broken, it's already detached. It's not attached, and there is no hard endeavor to detach it. I heard when people pass away, different people pass away in different ways. If somebody is very attached, then the Yamadutas have to, put the noose around their soul and pull the soul really hard out of the body. They don't want to leave the body. So that's how attachment will be. But I think for a devotee, it's easy. They just leave. They know that this is not where they're going to live forever. So it's not, no Yamadutas need to pull the soul out. They'll be like, okay, bye, everybody. I'm going to Krishna now. So this is the beauty of Krishna consciousness. It's so enlivening in this life. It's so enlivening at the time of death. It's enlivening. Even if we take another birth, it will be predictable. That will still continue to be a devotee. Krishna will provide opportunities. So I'll stop here. I'll request the devotees to give their comments, or if you have any questions, you may ask.
Anyone who has questions for Mataji, can you please raise your hands and we will take you one by one. It was a wonderful class, Mataji. We got so absorbed in it. I mean, the easy way and the most humble way you described, I am pretty sure there'll be a lot of questions here.
Thank you.
Let's see. We have Shivani Mataji. You can ask your question.
Hare Krishna Mataji, Dhamma Pranam. Thank you for a very beautiful class. My question is, how do we detach ourselves with our family members? I mean, we do our duties, we are concerned for them and care for them and love for them, but not have the attachment, How do we detach?
So we have to perform our duties for the pleasure of Krishna. So, there is so much involved in raising a kid and maintaining a family. But we have to always remember that I'm doing it as a service to Krishna. Krishna has put us in this position. He has given us this service. The reason why we are in this position is this is what we are meant to do. And try to find opportunities to engage the family members in Krishna's service, and not have like too many material goals. Of course, everyone has to live in this material world, but that everybody has to do something, but not have excessive goals, like Atyahara Nectar instruction says, right? Don't try to engage the family in excessive material endeavors. And eventually, Krishna will purify our attachment if it's in a wrong direction. He'll give us opportunities to realize that and purify it. We accept and seek mercy from the Lord and we improve. It's a process. We have to learn and, continue our journey towards improvement, towards detachment. It's not a one-day thing, but we have to always pray that let me do my service for your pleasure. Let me engage my family members in your service. That's my understanding on how we can do this.
Thank you, Mataji. Mataji, in my family, me and my sister are in Krishna consciousness, somewhat my mom as well, but my family is not. So please kindly, I humbly ask you, please pray for me and my family that I give them prashadam and I pray every time in front of my deities that please engage them, and they as well come to Krishna consciousness willingly in this lifetime. But I kindly, humbly request you, please pray for me and my family that I can bring them to Krishna consciousness. Thank you so much. Hare Krishna.
Thank you so much. I pray to Krishna that you will have enough strength to convince so that they can willingly take up Krishna consciousness. Thank you.
Any more questions for Mataji? Amit Prabhu, you can ask your question, please.
Hare Krishna, Mataji. Mataji, during text 44, you said samadhi means fixed mind, right? But like in today's scenario, like especially like ourselves, initially, like in my case also, when we start chanting or when we do some worship, initially for few minutes, a few seconds, the mind is settled down, means it is not going here and there. But after some time, it goes here and there, and means after many tries also, it comes for a minute and then again goes. So that fixed, when you say fixed mind, so fixed mind is means I'm like bit skeptical on that one, that how we will put it on a one place.
It's a practice. Even Arjuna says, right, controlling the mind is more difficult than controlling the wind in chapter 6. So it's practicing. And also, when we chant, the state of mind is a reflection of what we have done the rest of the day before. So as much as we can engage in Krishna consciousness, even if we are working, we can hear the chanting or some recitation or something like that. The more we are connected to Krishna during the day, the next day chanting will be easier. But we should never give up trying to bring it back. We should never let it go and be okay with it. As long as we try, it depends on Krishna's mercy. It's not completely in our control, just like, in Damodar Leela pastime, you see, Yashoda Mata is trying so hard. And then finally, Krishna gives his mercy and she could bind him. It's the same thing in our everyday chanting. We try and we should never give up. We should never just let the chanting go and, eventually we'll just be doing things and chanting and we are looking at the phone and chanting. So that's not trying. As long as we try, Krishna will give mercy. Sometimes Krishna gives mercy and we can feel it. Sometimes it may be hard endeavor. Sometimes the day is not in your control. You have to do so many things which involve so much anxiety. So Krishna sees our endeavor. Sometimes you may not see the result. Krishna is seeing your everyday endeavor, and you will get the result according to your endeavor, whether it's today or tomorrow or after a few years, you will get the result. But you need to show that determination and endeavor.
Right. So the key point is basically determination.
Yes.
Thank you, Mataji. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Thank you. Nice question.
Thank you, Mataji. You can ask your question, please.
Hare Krishna, Mataji, Danvat Pranam, and Danvat Pranam to everybody. So it's a very personal question, and I think I can speak in front of all devotees because it's related to Krishna. Now, Krishna wants me to go back to work after 3 years, so my starting date is tomorrow. I have been focusing, devoting my all the time, taking care of him, and now he's asking me to go back to work. And I have been fighting with him, telling him that who is going to take care of your food? Who will put Laddu Gopal to sleep during afternoon? And I am just so sad. And I don't know, I have to leave by 5:30 in the morning and I'll be back around 3 o'clock. I have been crying and I'm so emotional. And I don't know. I said, no, this is your decision. You take care of yourself. I am not supposed to feel sad. You are doing it. For 3 years, you made me so close to you. Now you are letting me go. I don't know. It's just so sad. And I don't know what you suggest. What am I have already, I'm going to put some snacks and stuff for him to eat during the day. And maybe I'll prepare lunch once I get back home around 3:30. But then I don't know, how am I going to eat food without them? Like it will be hard to put food in my mouth during lunchtime, thinking that they are hungry and I'm eating. How is that possible? What am I supposed to do?
So you said it's Krishna's plan that you have to go back to work. Were you working from home before?
Yeah, since COVID started,
Yeah,
we have been working.
The same problem is there for many devotees now. The thing is, your desire is what matters. And if there is no circumstance for you to do the service physically, you can also do it mentally. You're at work, but you cannot eat before you offer something to your Gopal. You can make the offering in your mind and offer it to Gopal, and then after that you can eat your lunch.
Okay. Yeah, I have been doing that even at home. I offer them in my heart if I'm not around, but yeah, just preparing food every day for them and now just simply stop. Yeah, I don't know. I'm just so mad anyways. I just wanted to share my feeling with everybody that Thakurji is not doing justice with me right now. So
Yes, it can be very hard. I can understand.
I take them as my parents. They are my parents, our parents in India. So they are my parents. I go to them. So now they don't want me to take care of them. They don't want me to take care of Laddu Gopal, So
It's not that they don't want you to. Sometimes separation, separation will also increase your devotion. It's not like Krishna rejected you. You shouldn't understand like Krishna rejected you. Different circumstances will increase your spirituality in different angles. So you have to make use of whatever situation you are in and find something that you can do which will make you spiritually advanced. Now you're going to work, maybe you can distribute prasadam personally to co-workers. That wasn't the case during pandemic, right? You could not give anything to anybody. So you can use this situation to please Krishna in a different way. He just wants you to be engaged in a different way at this time.
Okay, thank you.
Hare Krishna Mataji Dhanatnam. I have one last question if nobody has a question. Let me check one more time. If anybody has a question, please raise your hand. Otherwise, we'll have this last question. Mataji, my question is, and it's my personal experience, and just like Mataji said, Ritu Mataji was saying, and Amit Prabhu was saying, the determination, everything. We are in material world and we are getting more conditioned with, like, at work we have material people, even in relatives you are more materialistic people. So sometime the morale, the determination goes down. We are not Queen Kunti that you keep giving me difficulties and I'm going to be fine with you. Like, just like Ritu Mataji said, we feel a very hopeless feeling or anguish that, Krishna, why are you doing this to me? It may be good for us in long term, just like a kid who's running on the road just in case he doesn't get hit by a moving vehicle. But how do we understand, how do we convince our mind and our soul that whatever Krishna is doing to me, it may be very extenuating at this point, it may be very difficult at this point, it may not be acceptable to me and my logical mind. How do we convince ourselves and our mind and our soul to continue on the path of bhakti, even when we are feeling a little like mad with Krishna or a little unhappy, saying that I'm doing everything for you, but you are just not helping me out?
Yeah, for that, over the years, we could gain strength from association of advanced devotees. When you look at their lives and how they dealt with different problems, and take association, and if you have somebody whom you can trust, you can reveal your mind and you can ask for help in how I can understand this particular situation, and they will help because they followed it in their life. When they speak about it, it makes sense to you, it goes right through. Although the same words may be spoken by someone who is not such a follower, may not make so much difference. So association and seeking guidance from somebody who's more advanced, who has gone through situations like this, will greatly help. Usually people who are in Krishna consciousness from previous generations, they have gone through much more than we have gone through. So when they tell something, they are practical, the solutions. And when they give the wisdom, it's actually uh, realized knowledge. So it really helps. And fortunately, are you from Houston?
Yes, Mataji, I'm from Houston.
Yeah. Fortunately, we have so many advanced devotees in the community. You can take guidance from. Just looking at them gives so much strength in life.
So I have been very inspired, and I have been always looking up to His Grace Halila Prabhu and Mataji. And I remember, and I want to share here for everybody's benefit. Like one time, Mataji had a very big surgery. I did not have the courage to see them because they are like my parents. So I just went to them to support in that difficult time. And I was like, literally, I had tears in my eyes when I went in their home. I was thinking that Mataji must be resting, Prabhu must be upset with the whole day in the hospital. And you would not believe, Prabhuji was reading Bhagavatam. Mataji just came back from hospital and she was chanting. And that gave me so much strength. Thinking on small things, we cry so much. And
Yeah.
here we have a couple who has been in bhakti, and this is the example that they are demonstrating. Like, even if you have physical ailments or physical discomfort, to the maximum, like, surgery is where, it's very painful, and, you have so much stress and anxiety because of it. And Prabhuji was reading Bhagavatam and Mataji was chanting. So every time I get sick, I scenario in my head saying, did you see how Harila Prabhu was? Did you see how Madhvi Mataji was? How can you just lay in the bed? You had to get up and finish your chanting. So a lot of strength comes from them. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
We have one last question. I think Neelam Mataji.
Thank you. Thank you for bringing up this point. They have been the source of inspiration in my life also. I'm very grateful to Hari Lila Prabhu and Mataji.
Neelam Mataji, you can ask your question. Please unmute yourself. Neelam Khiram.
Yes. Am I audible now?
Yeah, you are.
I just had a suggestion for a previous person who has to go back to work after 3 years and is worried about not able to give service to the deities. It makes me remember Prabhupada always said, make the best use of everything available to you. Even the electronic gadgets, they are used materially so much, but we can use them for our Krishna conscious purposes. So always remember to make the best use of whatever is available. The second point I need to say is that when I had to work full time because I was a single parent, I hated to go back to work and give my son to someone else to take care of. But luckily, it was my own sister who volunteered to take care of him and let me go to work. But my intention was always to cook different variety of foods for my son. And I will make that, and he wouldn't care for Indian food, so as to say. And usually everything was left over, and I will take it to work. And guess what? All my colleagues will jump over it. How come we got all this? I said, because my son's name is Alok. Because my son didn't like to eat. I made so much. Oh, they were so happy. Every day will ask me, thank you, Alok. Do we have any leftovers, Neelam? Do we have any leftovers? And then on Sunday feast, so much so, since we used to serve, at the end food was left, and we'll pack in so many packages and bring it to the work for my colleagues, as well as for some of the patients who didn't have approach to a fresh food. And some of the patients, I will take the prasadam to their home if they were nearby in the temple. And it was such a force to go to work that I can distribute prasad to the people and make them aware of Krishna consciousness. So look at the positive side of it, going back to work. And remember, Prabhupada said, make the best bargain of whatever is available to you. So think of these two things and get energized that going back to work may be another way of Krishna showing you to spread your Krishna consciousness. Thank you. Hare Krishna.
Thank you so much. I'll ask Halila Prabhu to conclude the sessions. Halila
Hare
Prabhu.
Krishna Mataji. Thank you so much for coming to our Partsarthi platform and giving us such a nice informative class, explaining all the verses very nicely. And also the question answer session was so good, so people can learn from it. Thank you so much again. And with this, we would like to end our call.
Thank you so much, Prabhu. Thank you, all the devotees, for your association. I'm very grateful.
Chela Prabhupada ki jai, Har Grace, Sundari Radha Mataji ki jai, Srimad Bhagavad Gita ki jai, Gaur Bhaktivinoda ki jai, Vancha Kalpatarubhyascha, Sindhu Jayeva Nam Pavanebhyo, Vaishnavebhyo. Thank you so much, everyone, for listening. Hari Bol, Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.